Jane here. I am back again. I just tried to do this video a couple of minutes ago and for some reason we had a bit of a technical hitch and I got cut off. So let's take it from the top and talk motivation. Yesterday I did another live stream asking if you had any questions that you would like me to answer, obviously in relation to my area of expertise. And Jane posted that she feels like she's lacking motivation at the moment. Like she is procrastinating. She's made some changes to her grazing, which had the intention of giving her only one horse to focus on. I'm just reading the question off my computer here. And she's got a bit of a cold and she's just lacking motivation. So just wondering what she can do about that. Hi Jody. I hope you can all hear me okay. I've just got a bit of a new setup going on, so checking that everything is kind of audible. Right, so when it comes to motivation, really what we're wanting to ascertain is exactly why we have lost that motivation. And essentially it can come from a number of different sources. So procrastination and lack of motivation can come from fear. So be that pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, thank you Jodie, awesome, or perhaps involving yourself in something which is pushing your buttons. All of these things can activate our fear responses on a conscious and on a subliminal level, and as a result we lack the motivation to get out there and do what it is that we want to do, because obviously we're looking to avoid putting ourselves in scenarios that trigger that fear as much as possible. The other thing that can lead to procrastination or lack of motivation is a lack of clarity. So sometimes we float around in this haze of, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we went for a ride, and I like riding, and all of these sorts of kind of ambiguous scenarios, and we don't actually have a goal that we're working towards. And naturally, you don't always have to have a really clearly defined goal, but if you are lacking motivation, it can be that you are also lacking markers of progression. And when we don't have anything to measure progress against, or to really just see how we're going, along the way, whether we are moving forward, whether there are some things that we need to pay attention to, then that creates an atmosphere of ambiguity. So getting really clear on what your intention is for getting out there and riding on a specific day is really useful in reconnecting with that initial motivational drive. The other thing, just to flag up a few things as to why we might lack motivation in the first place, or why we might be procrastinating, is when we are out of alignment with what it is that we actually want to be doing. So a lot of people do things within their riding, especially competitively, involved to what they think they should be doing, and sometimes this is in relation to external markers. So perhaps you're doing something right now in your riding because you feel like someone else wants you to do that, or that's what you've always done, or that is part of the group that you are in, friendship wise or horse colleague wise, and as a result you feel a certain drive to be involved in the same activities. And when perhaps we are doing something for external reasons, so reasons that aren't intrinsically motivated, that come from that place which provides us with a natural magnetic pull to get out there and ride, then we can lose that motivation. We can lose the wheel along the way because, quite simply, we are not connecting with what it is that we're looking to achieve. So those are three things to check out for yourself. Is the lack of motivation or the procrastination motivated by fear? And fear doesn't necessarily have to be that really full expression of fear. It can just be a feeling of discomfort, or somehow you're going to put yourself in what we may perceive as a painful position. So be that emotional pain, perhaps we're looking to avoid embarrassment, or we feel like we don't have the skill set or the confidence to get out there and do what it is that we want to do. And as a result of that particular feeling, that initiates a cycle where we limit ourselves moving forward. So gaining some clarity on why you might be actually procrastinating is a really good way to go. Reconnecting with your purpose. So why is it that you ride? What is it that you want to get out of riding and out of being out there with your horse? And when I say get out of it, I don't mean necessarily something really materialistic and tangible. It might just be the expression of partnership that you wish to experience with your horse. It might be just whatever really floats your boat in that area. Reconnect with that and see what you can do to bring that to life or bring that to the party in involving your riding right now. The third thing, which we just checked off right there, was making sure that you're not riding for an external purpose. So sometimes that's completely fine, but like I said, making sure that what you are doing with your riding right now is in alignment with what naturally drives you and not what you think you should be doing. So those are three things which are really useful to have a look at to see whether they could be the foundation platform that is the reason for the lack of motivation or the procrastination. Okay, so looking at a technique. Obviously, depending on how and why you are lacking the motivation, the very first thing that I wanted to flag up, because you've made mention, Jane, that you have a bit of a cold and you feel like you're lagging, we really can't deny our physiology. Sometimes we just have to lighten up and give ourselves a break and recognize that perhaps what's needed right now is just a little bit of self-care, because horse people, and I know this is a vast generalization, but I include myself in this equation every now and then, we really take care of our horses in that we check the diets and we're sniffing the hay and we're adding the minerals and we're making sure everything's tweaked and adjusted the way that it needs to be, but perhaps our own diets need to be looked at. Perhaps we're not getting enough sleep, and perhaps we're just not taking care of ourselves in the way that we really need to take care of ourselves to make sure that we're functioning at our optimum. And when we don't take care of those things over a period of time, we really do start to function at a suboptimal level. And if you don't have the energy on a physical level, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not eating well, if you're not taking care of yourself, then this has to have a knock-on effect. And sometimes that knock-on effect is the feeling like getting out there and riding, or getting out there and doing what it is that you want to do with your horse is just too much right now. So make sure that you're not searching for intangible reasons as to why you're lacking motivation and overlooking some of the really base reasons why we might be feeling below par. And that comes down to looking after yourself, eating well, drinking well, sleeping well, making sure you have time in your day to do the kinds of activities that really fill you up. Jodie, spot on. Yeah, my horses get looked after way better than I do. Yeah, I would agree with that myself. But, that comes from a really good place as well. It's just that I think we can push and push and push and push, especially if you've got family, and a lot of us have multiple things we're taking care of. It's not just our horses, it's not just, little message popped up on the screen. It's work, it's family, it's horses, it's so many different avenues. So taking care of yourself actually isn't a luxury, it's a necessity, because at some point down the line that has a flow-on effect to how you feel and your ability to function at the level that we're all really capable of and that we deserve of functioning at. So that's the first thing. Just make sure that you are actually looking after yourself, and you have a bit of a cold. So maybe it's not the time to get out there and really push it. Maybe you do have to look after yourself for a few days. So keep that in mind. The second thing is to set yourself some goals. So if you don't already have clarity or purpose, or you're feeling like you're floating along on a wing and a prayer, you need to sit down and assess for yourself what it is you're doing. What is it that you'd like to achieve? Where is it that you would like to go? So you kind of cast a line into the future, and that provides you with a point of positive tension that you can move along. When you have that, then you can break that down, so reverse engineer. It might be that you set a goal for 6 months' time, for instance, and then you work your way back to the present day. So if I want to be at this place in 6 months' time, where is it that I need to be in 3 months' time? And then where is it that I want to be in 6 weeks' time? And then you can start to let that inform your daily and weekly training practice. When that happens, then we have these little points that we're able to follow along the way that gives us really clear markers of progress. And if you can choose to consistently direct your focus towards the positive aspects and to make sure that you have some measurable points to plot against, it gives you quite a lot of intrinsic motivation, because we all love to see what's happening. You know, we love to see, yes, I can see how there's been improvement from one week to the next. And that in itself is such a motivating factor that can keep you moving forward. If you're unable to see that, and this is something that comes up for some people as well, chances are that you are not being incremental enough in your progress. So make sure that you're really working within a time frame and within a structure that allows you to effectively measure progress in a way that's really fair to you and in a way that's really fair to your horse. Okay, so ascertaining why you might be procrastinating, whether that's fear-based, making sure that you're looking after yourself, and giving yourself some clarity around your goals. So what is it that you want? How can you measure progress? How can you create that line of positive tension moving forward that will allow you to pull yourself along the line and attribute and become aware of the positive aspects of what you're out there doing with your horse and the successes that you're having along the way? Another topic altogether, but that's definitely something that is really great to discuss. Here is the clincher. This is what I wanted to share with you today, a little technique for pulling yourself out of those procrastination zones and into the zone of motivation. I think I need a sip of coffee in order for this to happen. Life's always better with coffee. Okay, so let's pretend for a moment that right in front of you, you have a brownie sitting on a plate, like this amazing, gorgeous, chocolatey brownie. So part of you wants to really pick up that brownie and just knock it down the hatch. And there's another part of you that knows that at the moment you are working towards being really fit and healthy and fabulous, and eating that brownie right now is actually taking you further away from that goal of being a fit and athletic rider. Obviously, this is just an example. I'm not advocating never eating brownies. I would never do that. But just to use this as an example right now to give you some clues as to how you can move forward and motivate yourself. So the brownie example is pertinent because what we have is always this dichotomy between the present version of ourselves as we exist right now and the future version of ourselves. So let's say there's present Jane sitting right here and there's future Jane that has a really clear idea about what her goals are and what it is that she would like to achieve. So right now, present Jane is sitting in front of the brownie and knows that she would like to slam that puppy down and eat it straight away. Whereas future Jane knows that she has this goal over here in 3 months' time to be feeling really fit and fabulous. And she also has the understanding that from repeating that behavior in the past, she feels a little bit stodgy and kind of not so great after eating that brownie. And so perhaps it is not the right thing to do. So what we have is this tension between present Jane, who wants to eat the brownie, and future Jane, who knows perhaps that is not quite right for where it is that she wants to head. And this is always the tussle that we face in any situations where we are unsure how to move forward or lacking the motivation to get out there. So say, for instance, using the brownie analogy, we are sitting on the couch and we feel like actually we would just like to turn on the TV and watch something fairly mindless, as opposed to perhaps put ourselves out in the elements and ride our horse today. So you have this present you version, which is like, okay, let's sit here and relax. And you can find invariably many reasons to support why that's a good idea. You know, you deserve it. You've been working hard. You should just chill out. It's okay. You can start again tomorrow. All of these sorts of justifications, which if we hold on to, can just seem, you know, perfectly feasible. And in some occasions, they are perfectly feasible. But we also have this version of you, the future you, that knows that in order to achieve the riding goal that you've set for yourself, you need to be out there riding 5 days a week. So what I want you to consider in any situation is the present version of yourself and the future version of yourself. And I want you to see if you can find some kind of middle ground between the two. So it might not be that, let's take it back to the brownie analogy, just because that's really clear cut. It might be that you don't eat the brownie this time, or you eat the brownie on a Sunday, for instance. I'm not advocating a really militant behaviour, but what we want to do is to find some happy ground between you being able to consistently move forward and achieve what it is that you want to achieve, and living well and doing well in the present moment. Does this make sense? Sorry, I've just had someone, a comment pop up, but I can't quite see it there. So understanding where it is that you are right now and the motivation behind some of the thought patterns that you're having. So are you genuinely feeling like you do need to rest, or is that just really an excuse to not get out there and do what it is that you want to do? And then weighing that up against the goals that you've set for yourself, that future version of yourself, and perhaps on that particular day, you need to connect more with the future version of yourself than you do with the present version of yourself. It's not about judgment, it's really about removing emotion from the picture and understanding what actions you need to take in order to get to where it is that you want to be, while simultaneously appreciating the moment, which is always so, so important. The other thing when it comes to procrastination is that you really have to set yourself up for success. So if you have made a decision, let's say on Sunday, that on Monday you are going to get out there and ride, and for all intents and purposes, that's possible. So you say to yourself, you know, everything's lined up, you have the time, the ability's there for you to get out there and ride, you just don't feel like it. Decisions based on emotions like that are never really a good thing, and generally don't take us towards where it is that we want to go. So if you have made a decision on the Sunday and on the Monday you find yourself having this internal conversation about whether I should go out and ride, I can't really be bothered, I don't really feel like it, what I want you to tell yourself is that the decision has already been made the day prior, and now all you have to do is take action. Once you have made a plan going forward throughout your week, that is a plan that I want you to stick to. It's not that I want you to, ignore that I just said that. It's not a time for making decisions in that moment. The decision has already been made, now it's a time for action. And if you're finding yourself in a pattern of behavior where you're repeating procrastination, or you're not, you get home from work and you find yourself really tired, perfectly legitimate. But if this is happening on a regular basis, then what we need to do is start to work to a new strategy, because ultimately we're not going to achieve or work towards the outcomes that we want if we're stuck in these cycles of procrastination and lack of motivation. So that comes down to setting yourself up for success. Maybe instead of getting out of the car and going inside and sitting down for a while, maybe you need to get changed before you leave work, and so that when you get home you're already in your riding gear and you can just get out there and make it happen straight off the bat. Look at the ways that you set yourself up for failure. And when I mean failure, I mean look at the ways that you perpetuate patterns that lead to responses that you don't desire, like procrastination, like not getting out there and actioning the types of things that you want to do. And then look to implement something that will override them before you actually fall into that rabbit hole. Does that make sense, guys? Amanda, so true. Awesome. Yeah. So setting yourself up for success is a huge procrastination buster. Understanding and connecting with your goals so that you have this tangible connection between the future version of yourself that you're able to transport yourself to in those moments where perhaps you're feeling like you don't really want to do what it is that you've set yourself to do. Understanding that once you've created a strategy and it's within your reasonable means to action that strategy, that decision has actually already been made and you are now free to just get out there and do your thing. Because ultimately what usually happens in these situations is that the future you is so much happier if you actually do get out there and ride. And if you can set yourself up so that you create some momentum over a period of time. So maybe say to yourself, well, I'm not going to get out there and necessarily ride for a whole hour, but maybe I'll just get out there and ride for 10 or 15 minutes. And then you create these little wins, these little successes which build on themselves and give you really good reference points moving forward that you can refer back to. And yeah, it just makes it easier for you to intrinsically motivate yourself moving forward. All right, team, I would love to know what you're thinking and your thoughts. And if you have any questions off the back of this, or any questions generally about other aspects of confidence and mental skills and competition and all of that sort of stuff, then I'm so open to hearing about them. I can jump on and do one of these videos for you. And if you want to work a little bit more in depth, then I do have group coaching and private coaching programs available that we can work together with to help you manage your mindset and get to where it is that you want to be. So feel free to flick me a message about that as well. All right, guys, have a fabulous day. I hope you have sunshine wherever it is you are. And yeah, I'll be back on soon to chat about some other stuff. See you guys. Bye.